Hey guys, welcome back to my craft room, and we are doing another wreath today. I know I've done so many wreaths, but they're so fun to make and they're such great gifts. So I like to share with you my kind of process because I make them a little bit different every time I make a wreath, and it kind of varies on like tips and tricks on what kind of products I use and how I end up putting them together. So I figured this one would be kind of fun to show you because it's a little different from what I would normally do. So I started off with a wooden plaque from Hobby Lobby. You can just find them in the wood section. It's just a wood rectangle, and I am using a white acrylic paint, craft paint, brown acrylic craft paint, and black. I couldn't remember there. And we end up mixing the black and white to make a gray. But you'll see that later. Because I'm going to first put a white coat on all of my edges and my sides, because I want to have a white base and also to cover up that wood color. So I go ahead and mix a little bit of water in with my white every time I put it on there, just to make it a little bit more movable. It's kind of up to you. It's a kind of feel, I guess. And I go ahead and pull out my, just a little, kind of like an index card. It's a little smaller than that, but an index card will work fine. And I just put some brown on one side of it and just do a scraping technique to get some of these wood lines, like a wood grain, but not quite. It's just kind of an aging or distressing look that it's very easy to do when you're just using the side of a piece of paper. I also add a little bit of white to it as well if I feel like I've got a few darker spots, and just scrape it over, and that'll blend some of that really dark brown back into that white, so it's not as harsh. Because I wanted it to look distressed, not colored, if that makes sense. So this is a good case of second guessing yourself. I loved, after, looking at the video now, I loved how the lettering came out firsthand. But then I second guessed myself while making it, and I started adding layers of paint to thicken it up, just so it would be more visible, or so I could fix up my lines to make them a little neater. But oh my word, I was so sad about how this came out, and I ended up just wiping it all. Which I should have just stuck with the thin lines, because that is what we're going to do on the other side. But first, I try to fix it with a little bit of white paint, and it just goes so wrong. And I thought I would include it in here, because this is just the process, and I overthink myself a lot, which I shouldn't. Because it looked great with the thin lettering. So I ended up putting on a white layer, which then turns it into a gray, which, oh my word, this gray is beautiful. It kind of looks like a chalkboard, and it gives a really great backer to this wreath that, if you're looking at it from the other side, it still looks very farmhouse and very cute. And I love that it kind of came out this way. So it was kind of a happy accident that I ended up creating something a lot better, I would say. So I guess second guessing myself is okay, right? So here I am going on the other side with that brown paint and then a little bit of the white, just to get rid of some of that dark, harsh lines. And I also took a little bit of the gray from the back to add a little bit of that onto there as well. Since I did the sides in the gray, I wanted to keep that gray in there to keep it cohesive. And then when I thought I was, pretty satisfied with that, I went ahead and got a very tiny brush. I think you guys have seen me use this brush before on all of my lettering that I do. like with watercolor. And I just lightly go in and I'm kind of sketching out where I want my letters to be. And then I just go in and add a little bit of thickness, not much at all, because I still like that very thin look. I think it's rather farmhouse look, and even the imperfections, very farmhouse, and I love that. I went ahead and did a little bit of a border with just some squiggly lines, kind of like a grapevine look, and I accidentally messed up the corner a little bit by going a little too thick. So I just took a little bit of white paint and went in and just kind of cleaned up those lines a little bit. And if I felt like the white was smudging with the black a little too much, I just took a little bit of that tissue, or, ooh, what's it called? Not toilet paper, paper towel that had been soaked through. Just got my finger a little wet and dabbed that paint off. And I also went in the letters and cleaned up that a little bit too, just to create a little bit more of a thinner look, which I love. I love how the thinner look came out. It's like calligraphy, but not. It's awesome. I love how it turned out. But that is my sign. I went ahead and let it dry. If you are going to have this wreath outside, put a layer of sealant on it. Just get like a spray adhesive or spray sealant, like in the spray paint section. That way it doesn't wear off as fast. Mine I knew was going to be inside, so I didn't really worry about it. Now I'm going to take a burlap ribbon and cut it into 3 sections. This is going to create a braided burlap ribbon look, and it is so cool. I don't know why I've never done this before, because I love burlap. I love the braided look. So I don't know why I've never done it before, but I figured it would be a perfect time to use it on this farmhouse wreath, because what is more burlap than, or more farmhouse than burlap and braided, and just all of these elements together are so farmhouse and so cool. So I went ahead and braided those together, snipped off the edges, and that is going to be the handle to our sign. And I go ahead and play with it because I wasn't sure if I wanted it to be kind of wrapped around the wreath or if I wanted it to just hang. And I decided to just let it hang, and I ended up placing it in a very bad spot. I think it was just too crooked because of the natural shape of the wreath is very wonky. So I have to kind of wonkify it myself to make it match the wreath. So it ends up being a little bit to the side, but when it's on the door, it looks so good. I'm okay with it being a little to the side. Because we actually end up going ahead and using a cotton stem on the side as well. So that kind of just keeps the balance of each side of the wreath. Instead of it being strange looking, it just kind of adds a nice touch. So I went ahead and just hot glued that to the wooden plaque, and it held very nicely. I always do kind of a little bit of a pull test because wreaths are naturally being pulled because of just gravity, and because they're hanging, that, you know, creates a little bit more gravity. But because the sign is so light, it doesn't pull too much, and that you don't really need too much of a glue to hold it, which ends up being great. So I go ahead and create another braided burlap section, and this I'm going to keep the ends separate because I'm going to attach the cotton stem. Because it's so thin, the stem, I use the ribbon on the ends to tie a little bow just to make sure it stays in place, because I wasn't quite sure how well that was going to stick to all that bump, all the bumps in the wreath. So I just wanted the extra assurance, and the bow ends up looking really cute as an addition. Like, it doesn't stand out too much. And then I just wrap that ribbon all the way around and just give it a glue. And this is when I bring in just my burlap ribbon. I don't I don't braid it or anything for the hanger. I just leave it as a normal strip of burlap ribbon. And a lot of people I see have troubles hanging these wreaths because the ribbon is so thick that they're not sure how to put it on a nail. All you do is just scrunch up the end of that hanger of the wide ribbon and then just place it over the nail. So it's a pretty easy way to decorate your kitchen or any kind of farmhouse style. I think it turned out so cute. I hope you guys are having a crazy day. Good crazy, not bad crazy. And I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!